I'm going to be teaching is uh, close or extend march, both of which are in conjunction with each other. Close march, the purpose of close march, whether at a halt or while marching, is to get the flight in closed interval, while extend march is to get the flight back into normal interval. This is all while in column. So for example, if we were marching down the road and a lot of cars are passing by, we'd use this movement in this circumstance to get the flight in closer interval in order to make sure that we are in a safer distance away from the cars on the side of the road. Um, so how closed march works from a halt is that the flight will be in column formation. Now the minimum, of course, with this is 2 elements, because otherwise there's no need for it if we were in a single element or a single file. So the flight arranged in column formation. So let's say for example there are 4 columns that we have, or 4 elements that we should have. When called from a halt, the command follows is close march. So that is the command, and the command of execution being march. So we need to make sure that for close march, we are taking the appropriate number of steps to make sure that we are in close interval. This does not mean, however you may have been taught in the past, people say it's 1, 3, whatever steps. The appropriate steps are at a standstill or a halt are 2, 4, and 6. The 2, 4, and 6 is being within respect to who is the closest to the right flank. The furthest right flank element will not move. They will stay at a standstill. The element that is right next to them, so let's say for example the perspective that I'm looking at is the 4th element being the furthest right flank, but I'm calling this movement from column, will not move. The 3rd element, being the next element, will take 2 steps. The next will take 3, and the next will take 4, 4, and then the next 6. So 2, 4, 6. Easy to remember because they are all sequential with each other. I will demonstrate right now. First, as the 3rd element leader. Close, march. 2 steps, simple. 2nd element, 4. Close, march. And then lastly, 1st element, 6. Close, march. Now this all needs to be in conjunction and within time with each other. This should be within the regular normal marching cadence, which is 120 beats per minute. So make sure we are maintaining that same cadence. This is at close from a standstill, so we will now practice it now. Are there any questions? It is very simple steps, about half steps, or shuffling steps over to the right, and we will demonstrate now. We'll practice it now. Right, peace. Close, march. So first element, you make sure that you're taking 6 steps and you're not taking overly large steps. That's why these 6 steps are there for you to take small steps in order to get with the rest of the element while you're in close interval. That way we are not too squished together as in shoulder to shoulder directly. There is some space still with close interval. Now for extend march. Extend march is conducted to get us out of close interval. Close interval will be conducted as such. So extend march from the perspective of the 3rd element, and again the 4th element will not move because they are the furthest to the right. There is no need for them to move. So 3rd element, 1, 2, and extend march is the exact opposite of close march. Upon extend march, you will take the exact same number of steps in the opposite direction. It really is quite simple. Extend, march. Excellent. So we got the extend march right on point. All the steps were in time, as well as being in the appropriate amount of steps that you needed to get across. Now we are in normal distance, interval, and dress. Excellent. Left, peace. At ease. Now I'll be teaching it from march. So while at a march, the steps do vary. It is not the same 2, 4, 6. Rather, it is now 1, 3, 5. So it is the exact same procedure to move you forward to the right as far as the number of steps. However, the only difference is that you are pivoting within the steps now. So for example, the 4th element, you are not pivoting, just like, imagine it as a marching version of it, of course, with the 4th element not needing to go into a closed interval position because the rest of the flight is being based off of the 4th element. That now the 4th element is just going to half steps. because now we are waiting for the rest of the flight to catch up. So the third element would go forward with going, for example, I will demonstrate close, arch. Also take note that I called it on the right foot. Close march is called on the right foot, while marching extend is called on the left. Close, arch. Again. Close, arch. So that's close march from the third element's perspective. So take note how I took one pivot, 45-degree pivot, and one step to the right, and then on that same step, pivoted. So one step to you may seem like it is take a step, go again, and then another step. But of course, in that very same nature, if you do take that perceived one step, one, and then you think this, the left foot is where the first step ends, that is incorrect. That first step is also technically counting towards that actual step with your right foot when it extends out. That is your step. So from the second element, it is 3 steps. So demonstrate. Extend, arch. So the uneven steps, as far as the numerical order, the 1, 3, 5, the purpose of all of that is to get the elements, or to get each respective element on the right foot to pivot back forward. Otherwise, if we keep going and we use that incorrect idea of the third step being on the left foot, that would pivot us awkwardly forward, and you'd have to pivot on your left foot, which is incorrect. So from the first element's perspective, which would be 5, close, arch. So again, take note how that was 5 steps, but on the 5th step, which was on my right foot, not my left, that is the foot that I also pivoted on to go forward. Now, once all of the element has done this, you will go into half step. Now take note that the entire element will do this in conjunction, which means that you will not do it in sequence. Imagine as a column movement, where in a column movement you're doing it one by one. In a close or an extend march, the entire element would do it as a whole in one singular motion, rather than it being one by one, which is not correct. It would be the entire flight or entire element, respective element, is doing it all at once. So it's not one and the person behind them one. It is each element going exactly that step together, not by themselves. Are there any questions? All right, very well. We'll demonstrate that. We'll practice. Right, his, forward, arch. Close, arch. First time, make sure that you are doing it all together, not one by one. Extend, as it were. Forward, arch. Extend, arch. Forward, arch. Fight. Halt. Left. Hiss. At ease. So overall, the closed march could have been better. First element, you need to make sure that it is not one by one. It is all together. Remember, I specifically noted that it is all together, not a one by one movement like column. For the extend march, that was excellent. The entirety of the flight was doing it at the same time as their respective elements and taking the appropriate number of steps. However, we need to make sure that we are doing the appropriate arm swings that are in conjunction with your pivots. Are there any last questions? That is close and extend march.